Hello everyone, this is Group 8. I'm Sandy Proy.
I'm Jess Smith.
I'm Yiling Liu.
Okay, so today we'll be talking about Uber. Now, Uber is a popular ride sharing service which, through an app, connects a driver with someone who is trying to hail a taxi cab. Now, Uber classifies its workers as independent contractors, even though Uber collects all the fare and then it redistributes it out to the drivers. So, a recent California court ruling has declared Uber's workers as employees, and of course, that applies to only some of the workers as of now. Now, the court has said that it's because Uber controls the experience and the process, and it also handles the financials. So, right now, Uber is standing at a crossroad where they can go forward saying that, okay, our workers are employees, or they can keep on fighting the court system. Now, our research will further explore the financial and the operational changes that will result from the legislation if Uber does decide to consider its workers as employees, and then, of course, we'll end with our recommendation. So, as mentioned earlier, Uber considers its workers as independent contractors. Now, independent contractors by law are basically project workers who are not bound by the same rules as employees. They don't have to show up 9 to 5, and neither do they get the same benefits like health insurance or, for example, like unemployment insurance. But Uber drivers are bound by a certain set of tight rules, and of course, Uber monitors the whole process. It even handles the finances. Essentially, it does pay its drivers and it also monitors the car. But the main issue in the court ruling was how essential the function of the worker is to the company. Now, Uber cannot function or even exist without its workers. So, of course, they are considered employees by the court, and that's how the ruling came out to be.
A spokesperson for the company has stated that it is difficult to know exactly the additional costs Uber will assume if all of its drivers turn into employees. Regardless, the company and analysts have both acknowledged that doing so would force the company to completely change its business model. It is possible to approximate these costs. Currently, Uber splits its revenue with drivers at a rate of 80-20, where contracted drivers receive 80% and the company receives 20%. Building on these numbers, we know a few things are certain. If Uber's drivers were classified as employees, the company would have to pay Social Security and Medicare costs at rates of 6.2 and 1.45%, respectively. Unemployment and workers' compensation rates would total about $285 and $5,600 per employee annually. Current law mandates that full time employees receive medical insurance. Based on the rates it paid for corporate insurance in 2014, expanding its health insurance coverage to the 20% of its drivers who operate more than 40 hours per week, it would necessitate spending an additional $3,000 per qualified employee. Administrative costs would total $1,200 per employee. The total for employee costs, excluding mileage, is $13,145. The largest expense currently unaccounted for is something very obvious: mileage. Uber would have to reimburse mileage within the states that enforce it. It is calculated that Uber drivers accumulate approximately 475 miles per week. At the IRS's mileage reimbursement rate of 57.5 cents per mile, the resulting cost would be an additional $14,352 per year. Combined employee and mileage costs results in a total of $4.1 billion in additional costs for the company over the course of the year.
And I will talk about the benchmark in taxi driver industry. And the taxi driver here means the employees. Now let's look at the net taxi driver pre-tax income is 12.35 and the net Uber driver pre-tax income is 17.99. So from the benchmark, Uber drivers they usually receive higher earnings per hour than other general taxi employee. And maybe it is difficult to compare the after-tax net hours earnings of Uber drivers and taxi drivers, but it is shown that the Uber drivers they earn at least as much as taxi drivers and even more than taxi drivers. So this may be difficult for the Uber drivers to become employees. And now Uber has three ways in the light of the California rulings. The first one is they do nothing, and it can just wait and see how it plays out. And the second one is they find the system. It can decide to find the system and emphasize how the workers are really independent contractors. But that will mean they will totally lose control. And the third one is make the necessary changes. By making its drivers employees, the company will take on the cost and be operate its service in a more traditional way.
So we recommend that Uber does follow the guidelines of the court and make the necessary changes to reclassify its workers as employees. Now it will put certain financial burden on Uber, but seeing how most of their employees work less than 20 hours a week, it doesn't necessarily have to provide health insurance to all its workers. And of course, this is a great PR, and Uber can always restructure its pay structure to take more proceeds from the sales because, of course, it is reimbursing its now employees. So that concludes our presentation.
From Jess,
Yiling.
And Sandeep.
thank you for watching.